Hey there, folks. Welcome to our run of This Night on the Rooftops by CM Roopsot, uh, hosted here on The Gauntlet. The Gauntlet, for folks who don't know, is an online game community mostly focusing on games of the indie RPG and OSR variety. Although we even branched out, there's full-on Dungeons and Dragons that's been on the schedule for a few months now, going on. And yeah, and of course, the most interesting thing to the folks here tonight is that the Gauntlet hosts an online calendar for gaming events, with a bunch of events every month. So if you're interested in playing with any of the folks here or anyone else on the Gauntlet, feel free to hop on over through the link below to check us out. I'll So we'll start with a quick round of introductions. I am Steven, he, him. I am the facilitator for this game of This Night on the Rooftops. It's GMless, so I'm also playing a character here. I'm playing Alloy, she, her. I just forget the name of the Soot Scrambler. I am a demon kid. I have silvery antlers and eyes. I'm always covered in ash and soot. I am deeply naive about the world, as we've seen so far, and I am quick to take really anyone's declarations to the most emotional place possible. Like we are either best friends or nothing at all, and usually I'll end up declaring someone my best friend within a few minutes of meeting them, I assume. That's basically what happened with the frogs. But yeah, so if we could go clockwise from me to continue on to Gears.
Hi, I'm Nicholas. I am he, him. I am playing Gears, also he, him. Gears is a inventor of sorts, someone who loves inventing um, just large clockwork objects, but also clothing-based objects. So lots of hats, lots of boots, and definitely a math genius, no matter what that squirrel tells you. Um, and anything else
It's on
relevant?
page 1 of the manual.
Yeah, and actually, I think that squirrel might be my new best friend.
Yeah, and Damien, if you want to.
Hey folks, I am David, he, him pronouns, and I am playing Damien Six Fingers, aka Child. I was absent in the last session, but just a brief update on Damien. He is the so-called child, but really more disciple, of an old forgotten unknown god, or what he believes to be a god, that he has formed a close relationship with and is spreading the influence of throughout the world above. And he is currently sort of the quiet, serious type, but I imagine we might see him cracking the shell and becoming a bit more emotionally close to people over the next session. We'll see how it goes.
Great, and last but not least, Puckett.
Hey there, I am Puckett. I am playing Tabitha Tarantula, aka Ferngully Mossbrook. If you say that to my face, I very well might kick you in the shins or curse you, maybe give you a door that will stick for the remainder of your existence, that sort of thing. So, yeah, Tabitha Tarantula, if you please. I am the Gutter Witch, and that actually is both my playbook and identity. It's kind of sums it all up.
Great, and the last time we left off, we were just listening to the performance of the Frog King, and we are now just kind of discussing bringing Damien into the treehouse that we had made together. Let me actually just bring this up here for folks who might be interested in knowing what we're talking about. But yeah, we were talking about Damien. You you were talking about, like, how do you think that you have, yeah, as Gears brings up, how do you think you would like bring your kind of connection to the tired god into our tree fort?
I imagine you've got a little altar, just like a little thing, the like a little bitty desk, and and kind of the centerpiece of it, you've got maybe the medallion or a rendering of the medallion that I wear that I found down in the sewers, and then kind of on either side of it, you have some symbol of the god. Perhaps you have maybe 6 arms that meet in the middle, indicating outstretched hands of compassion or something like that. And then on the other side, you have maybe a vase of flowers that I replace every few days, symbolizing vitality and life, that kind of thing. But I tend to this altar as if it is my own little private corner, even though, as we were seeing on the treehouse diagram, I imagine that it's probably in the corner just northwest of the kitchen counter.
Cool, great. And so there are a few things I kind of am curious about, and they are questions that I kind of wanted to hit on. So first off, we did have a discussion about beginning on a new path, which is the a new friend. We'll get to that in a sec, but I'm curious, what was, how did we, like, where did we, like, where was Damien as the rest of us were kind of like building this tree fort? What had kind of kept Damien, what had taken Damien away from the rest of the group that day?
I think perhaps that I was in the sewers doing kind of a small expeditionary mission, trying to find some signs pointing as to where I originally found that shrine, or that statue that pointed me to my god. It's kind of a personal pilgrimage of mine to go back down into the sewers where I originally found that medallion I now carry as my sole prized possession, and try to find the origin of it, try to find the source of it, so that I can have a close personal connection to this god that I have been sorely lacking. And I imagine that it came up a little bit fruitless. I mapped out some parts of the sewers, but there is the continuing threat of the sewers being encroached upon by, I think, that factory that Gears and I used to work for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering, to kind of open things, was anyone interested in, because I'm curious to see what happened to Damien there. Is anyone interested in picking up, say, the canals or the alleys to kind of uh um kind of see the scene of what Damien found within the sewers that day?
I don't understand the question, to be quite
I
honest.
can do it. Pick up the playbook of the canals under the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for folks watching, the basic idea is that no one is playing a particular element. Like, no one is playing the GM, but there are these things in the world, which are the world playbooks. They are not owned by any particular character, but they're things we can pick up to use to sort of guide the fiction when we want to kind of when we want to kind of have someone fulfill the role that would usually be taken by the GM.
Yeah, Puckett, if you want to take it, I mean, that'd be great. It's all good. Whoever wants to do it.
All right.
So is this kind of like a flashback or a
I assume this is maybe
while this was
playing out
going
at the
on, this
same
is
time.
happening.
Yeah, I assume
yeah.
that. Yeah, because I'm interested in seeing a little bit of Damien, because it's been a while since we've gotten to see him.
Sure.
We had all of last session to like sit around and just draw away in that Google Doc. So I'm curious. How do these hanging, dangling bone charms normally sound?
The ones that I'm carrying?
No, the ones that are strung up, like for luck and such, under the houses.
Under the
We
houses.
described in our world creation that one of the elements of the canals is these strung up bone charms that are everywhere along the kind of sewer canals under the city.
Ah, yes. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm checking up the canals playbook there. There it is. What do they sound like? It's got
What do they
a.
sound like normally?
So normally I'm thinking it is a hollow tinkling sound. They're not these huge, femurs and things like that would have kind of a tunk, tunk, tunk sound, whenever you hit them. They're basically like little chicken bones, things that are small, they tinkle, they tin. They are very delicate, very fragile. They could break between two fingers if you really tried.
Okay. So, what's unusual about them today? Why do they sound different? Or why do you think they sound different?
There's an unusually strong wind kind of blowing through the canals, and it's hard to make sense of where it's coming from, but there's less of a gentle kind of tingling sound coming from them, and it's really more of a clatter, and maybe a few of them are even being kind of blown free of their hangings, and there's just this gust coming about. It's almost like a tempestuous storm that seems to be rising up.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like it's a particularly inviting environment today.
Yeah, it's very, very windswept. Very, sort of an omen has befallen the place. We're starting off on a little bit of a, not necessarily sinister, but maybe a couple steps below sinister atmosphere here.
Ominous?
Well, ominous, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So these bone charms, what are the reasons that you're aware of that people put them up? And what happens if they get blown down?
So as I recall, they were originally put up in the hopes that you wouldn't get floods. I mean, if these are canals, we have, I think, kind of these open waterways that go through, if I recall correctly. And I think it was...
planks across them, but yeah.
Exactly. And I want to say that it was, I must have been maybe 5, maybe 6 years old whenever the last great flood came through and knocked out a whole lot of the houses that had been built close to the waterway. So, here you are with these people coming up with their homemade superstitions in an effort to keep the water level down and to avoid any further natural disaster. So far, it seems to have worked, but... I don't know how much I believe in it personally.
So, this wind, is it making it more difficult for you to go see the tired god? Is it getting you disoriented or anything?
Well, it is really, I think, pushing me further to get down into the sewers. I think that it's so unpleasant, and maybe there's even a little bit of a wind starting to drive up, kind of a cold, just a little spray of water across my face every now and again when the wind picks up. I'm just trying to get out of here.
Now, when you say a spray, are you talking about just like a splash, or is the wind kicking up enough that it's like almost like leaving welts from how hard the droplets are hitting you?
I wouldn't say welts, but it definitely stings.
Gotcha. So, as you head in to the sewers, what makes you feel reassured?
As I head into the sewers?
Yeah, as you like actually finally start going into the tunnels where you can find your god.
I think that, when you sneak past one or two of the people who's just hired to guard the sewers, they don't actually do their jobs ever, but you sneak past a couple of them, you get down there. I really like the kind of cacophonous echoing. You can hear this sound of footsteps and of rushing water and of skittering rats. You can hear it from several dozen yards and away. No one can possibly sneak up on you, and there's this almost cathedral-like quality with the way the acoustics work that you just can't get anywhere else. It's the closest thing to a religious place I can think of, even though it's, well, not exactly what you would call a sacred area.
I mean, isn't it?
To me.
So I'm curious, does the wind affect it at all? Does the wind blow into any of these entrances into the sewers?
I wouldn't say it blows into them, but you know how you kind of you take your jug and you kind of blow across the top of it and it makes the whistling sound? I think you've got this distinct whistling quality that's really reverberating throughout the entirety of the sewers. It's beautiful, but also almost profane in a way. I've never heard anything like it, and it just gets in your head. It's almost got this sort of dizzying vertigo-like quality to it. It's so loud and so intermittent. It's hard to ignore.
Well, and the wind blowing past those tunnel entrances would naturally cause pressure to change rapidly. So, you probably have your eardrums vibrating in and out in ways that you normally wouldn't expect when you're down here.
Probably so. Yeah, it's a little hard to concentrate, to put it one way.
Are you friends with any of the rats down here?
We're on amicable terms. I don't know that we are. How should I put this? Do we have a close emotional connection? No. But whenever I head down there and one of them skitters up to me, we're on a first name basis, and we do say it's good to see you again, and we do mean it. So I guess you could call that being friends.
I mean, not quite as close as Alloy and the frogs, but then again, you've known these rats a while, as opposed to only a couple of minutes. So, do you bring them food, anything like that?
I bring them offerings of cheese that I pilfer. They prefer Swiss, but Munster's all I've got today.
Yeah, okay. So, let's see. Yeah. One of the rats is going to sit up and say, Munster? Seriously? It's got a different color on the outside. Would you eat something that had a different color on the outside?
Haven't you guys ever heard of fruit? All fruits are like that. Apples, they're red on the outside, white on the inside. Pears, they're green, but they're white on the inside.
Hey, Damien, we're rats. We live in sewers. We don't know from trees, right? Trees are out there, but we don't. What, you think we just go eat? You think we just go and eat on the trees?
Maybe you should try fruit sometime. I'll bring you some. You might like it.
Listen. You brought us this Munster stuff. You know we don't like it. Come on. Get us some of the good stuff. Listen. There's this new shop that opened up. It's like 2 blocks from here. They're in and out. They're setting stuff up. They don't know whether they're coming or going. Nobody's watching it. I bet you could steal us a wheel of cheese. No problem. And just so we're clear, this is the sewers making the move, take you somewhere new.
I see. So that's what they're offering.
Yeah. They'll show you something new, but they want some cheese out of it.
Well,
that's a pretty fair trade, you got to admit.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And I kind of look up at the exit to the sewers above me, and I think the wind begins to pick up and it rattles my head a little bit, and I'm dreading going back out into the weather. I look back at the collection of rats with their beady eyes kind of glowing in the dark.
And just like, which one is talking to you right now? What's his name?
Yeah,
His or her or their.
yes. This is tricky because I want to have a clever name for a rat, but I don't know any good puns right now. If Alloy or Gears wants to chime in here with a good rat name, that'd be great, but I'll think of something.
I'm going to X card Ratatouille in advance.
Fair. That's okay. That's the only thing that was coming to mind for me.
I kind of like when things have names of objects. How do you feel about like banana peel?
That does sound like a pretty rat name.
And you
But
see,
would they know what?
they only eat the outside though, so they don't. They never eat the insides.
And I was going to say, how would they know what a banana peel is?
We did just have a fruit conversation where they're
Yeah,
like,
we
I
did.
don't know.
they don't eat fruit. They'll eat peels fine.
All right. Just peels or peel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peel.
Like they don't.
Just
They're
as long
not.
as it's
They're
not
not. They
rhyme.
don't eat that disgusting inside stuff that the humans eat.
Ooh. Yeah, brown rind, moldy rind. These could be great names as well.
If we go with banana peel, I insist on calling him Nanners.
Why don't we just say that the rat's name is Nanners?
Okay.
Why? Who can say? You know, the rat introduced, and it's rat, Nanners uses he him.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Nanners introduced himself as such, never explained. Probably thought it was self-explanatory. I mean, it is to rats, so why wouldn't it be to humans? So Nanners just says, "Come on, hey, you got to eat too, right?"
That's fair enough. Well, as it stands, I've already got something, I say, holding up the monster. If you don't want it, I'll take it.
Listen. And at this point, another rat scrambles up your leg, grabs onto the monster, and drops into the canal with it. It says, and Nana says, "Sorry, I wouldn't even let a human eat that."
Your generosity is inspiring.
Look, I take care of my friends. Only the best for you, my friend.
No. Speaking of friends, I might have to collect mine if we're going to get you this Swiss.
Listen, you do what you need to do. We'll be here. We got it all mapped out. We know how to get in. We know how to get out. There's like, if you need to get out a different way, we figured that out as well. You can shrink down to the size of a rat, right?
I'm sorry?
You can shrink down to the size of a rat, right?
I can't say I've ever tried.
And Nanners kind of sits back and scratches his chin with his little paw and yells, "Hey, Tommy! Gotta scratch those rat-sized entrances for Damien here. Not gonna work. You can't transfer him into a rat or shrink down that small."
Is that a thing most people can do?
I don't know. You're the human.
I mean, I know someone who might be able to help with that, but I'd have to go grab them.
What, like shrinking you down or sizing us up?
Well, sounds like you were looking to shrink me down.
I mean, that's kind of optimal.
Okay, well, tell you what, I can go grab her and I can get you the cheese. I mean, we can get you the cheese, and then in exchange, you, well, take us on a little expedition.
That we can do. Nobody knows the sewers like us rats. You just tell me where you want to go besides that shop, we'll get you there.
All right.
After we get you to the shop, because we want that Swiss cheese. And you want some food too, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
You're not
am I
wrong. You're not wrong.
There you go.
All right, well, you've got yourself a deal, and I'll extend a little finger that he can shake with his ugly little rat paw.
And he just, gives you a fist bump.
All right, well, that'll do. And if I'm not back in an hour or two, well, don't wait up. We'll make it work, though. I'll be here soon.
Hey, we're rats. What, you think we sleep? Some of us are always awake.
That's really scary, I hope you know, I say, climbing up the ladder.
Hey, that's how we know when you're awake. Some of us run across you when you're sleeping. See you soon, Damien.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And I think at this point I will, just to get everyone else involved, if that's okay, I'm just going to collect the rest of the team.
Yeah. And were you aware that we were going to make this big? Actually, we did describe you setting out some altars. So I don't know if this is like before you've set out that altar or after. But I'm curious if you were aware of the plan the rest of us made to make this tree fort, or if it's something that happened like when you took your eyes off of us. But this is just what happens when Damien like stops corralling the rest of the group.
I do kind of feel like Damien's the adult.
Yeah.
Like, I just get back and it's like, hey, we did the place up for you, and there's this tree house, and we even made you a little altar, and it's like, how did you guys even know that's what the religious precepts say you should have? Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You mean we didn't just set an apple crate up someplace and say, there's your altar?
Tabitha, you're on altar duty, of course. You know how to do it right, I'm sure.
Listen, I know how to do it right for me. I don't know how to do it right for some old god.
That's better than the altar I'm going to create.
Look, nobody needs an altar to nuts and bolts.
No, it's the papers. Look at these. It's got everything on it.
Yeah, I glued some of these sparkly bits to it. So people were just leaving it out on one of the stands at the marketplace.
Damien's going to kill us all.
This is page 700 of Pi. Look at it. It's beautiful.
And as I flip through, I start seeing like unusual handwriting in the margins, like correcting errors.
Yeah. I also think that like increasingly Gears is just finding like tools missing with like walnuts left as replacements.
I mean, if you think about it, the difference between a stick and a pencil is almost non-existent.
Exactly. Like, it's offering fair trade.
Right?
All right, so you come back to an altar filled with sticks and walnuts.
Yes.
Alloy, Gears, Tabitha, I was gone for like 3 hours.
Yeah, isn't it awesome?
How did you do this in 3 hours?
Gears.
Let me just tell you, here's a 12-page manual. You do have to read this. Do not push this button unless you mean it.
I mean, it wasn't just Gears.
I know that I
It was
installed it in the
too.
middle of the stove.
Oh yeah, I carried all the frogs up myself.
Except for the ones that are in the pond.
That's because when you mean it, you really need to push it fast.
Well, those are the ones you had me put back down.
Like with the Robo Bucket, there's probably some that have gone up and down since then. So
Sorry, what did you ask?
Oh, was that directed towards me, Gears?
Damien? Yeah.
Oh. I was just asking how the heck you got this done in 3 hours.
I told you, ropes and pulleys.
Yeah, I've got pulleys.
Ropes and pulleys, of course. It's always ropes and pulleys and other simple machines, inclined planes, levers, etc. Look, guys, we've got a little job that I've volunteered you guys all for. You like cheese?
Who doesn't?
Yes.
Well, I need to go split some cheese with some rats down below. I agreed to get them at. And in
I think
return,
at the mention of cheese, it is like Gears is unaware of it, but just kind of falling down from the branches of the tree onto the top of his hat is the squirrel that is just kind of like now perched on top of his hat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to laugh at the sight.
I see you made some friends there, Alloy.
Well, you know.
Well, the squirrel and I are more acquaintances, but yes, I like that's Bartholomew. The one that is climbing out of your pocket with that bit of cheese is Gears. The
You named
frowning
a
one I
squirrel
already.
Gears?
No,
That's
no,
kind of
no.
weird.
The frog. The frog
Oh,
that frog there, but it's climbing out of Damien's pocket with the coin.
I have to look at this frog.
Yeah, and there's just a frog that is in the process of like climbing out of your pocket with like a coin in its mouth.
I
I'm gonna-
imagine it's like a huge fat bullfrog, like the
Yeah.
kind of thing you can like. Yeah, so I'm gonna pick it up in kind of one hand, and it's this huge thing. It's just fat, pudgy frog. And how many of these do you have, Alloy? Frogs,
I
not
don't
coins.
have them. They're friends. Like I guess I don't really. I guess. Do I have you, Damien, or Tabitha?
I mean, didn't we dance together under the rain?
Okay, that's fair. There is, like I said, Bernard and Gears, and not you, Gears, that Gears. And I kind of point at the toad. Not you, Damien, but Frog Damien and Frog Tabitha.
Well,
I'm honestly kind of surprised that Frog Tabitha isn't the one stealing something.
they're named after you, I say, looking at Tabitha.
Well, one's named after Gears, one's named after you,
Huh. I'll
and then
have
the rest
to.
of them are named other things.
I'll have to meet
Yeah,
Frog Damien.
I have. Yeah, you'll have trouble finding him. He tends to go off and mope on his own a lot. I don't know why.
Well, in any event, I say, and I'm just going to let the frog take the coin. I just kind of place it down on the floor and let it kind of lumber away. We need a couple things on a sort of shopping list. I'm looking for a wheel of Swiss, and if this is the new place that we are living in now, I say, kind of motioning to everything, I'm going to need to get some candles. We're going to need to christen this place properly.
Christen it. I thought you did that with like water or wine or champagne or some other liquid.
It's an old ritual that the tired god told me of. It involves lighting a whole bunch of candles your first night in a new place.
Huh.
There's
Okay.
symbolism to it, I promise.
Okay. I guess we can steal some of those. And there's got to be a candle shop. Do you need incense or anything like that, or it's just candles?
Just the candles is fine.
Okay. So, what's this job?
So I've been trying to find the spot in the sewers where I met this god and found this, I say, pointing to my medallion.
Uh-huh.
I've never been able to track it back down, but it's kind of a personal pilgrimage of mine, and despite my best efforts, I've never been able to map out the sewers well enough to figure out where it is. The rats down below are telling me that they can take me somewhere new, and I don't know what that means, but all we need is something to bribe the rats with. That's where the cheese comes in, and something that can shrink us down to the size of rats, which is, well, I don't know if that's something you're able to do, Tabitha, but
I mean,
it's
I should be able to turn us into something close enough. I think I can do that. Maybe not rats, but something else like, about that size. Or does it have to be rats?
I think it's just the size.
Okay.
So unless you guys have something else we need to be doing, and I kind of like am motioning towards the door, shall we?
You don't have to ask me twice to go steal some stuff.
Come on, Scraps.
Scraps comes, I guess, running up and Like, I don't know, what kind of personality does Scraps have?
I like to think that I see Scraps as like the least intimidating dog ever. Um, but anyone who doesn't know Scraps thinks, my God, is that a bulldog? What is that thing?
Yeah, okay. Scraps comes up and gives like a little please bark, but I think that the squirrel on hearing the bark like scurries down your hat and like rolls up one end of your brim to hide in it.
Oh, you're coming with us too?
Hey, squirrels are useful. They're quite clever and quite handy. You never know what
I
that squirrel
just,
could do.
I was surprised. That's all.
I'm surprised too. You'd think that he'd want to be hanging with somebody a little bit cooler, but there's no
Hey,
accounting for taste, right?
all right, let's go.
And I'll do a little bit of just showy magic just to kind of show the squirrel what it's missing.
Um, yeah. What kind of magic when you say that?
Oh, basically, I'm turning my index finger into something like a sparkler. Like it's not, there's just sparks kind of shooting out the end of it, but not like really hard or there's not very many. It's just a kind of little bitty sparkler. The sparks blink out pretty quickly. And the spell goes away after a few seconds.
I think you see the squirrel's eyes get larger and larger, like it's enraptured. And then, like, the second it realizes, oh, those may burn me, it like scurries up inside of a sleeve coat to hide safely.
Oh man, does it just like end up coming out like around like your neck and just kind of drapes over there like a little scarf?
Oh, yes. My cat does that. It's great. Now a squirrel does that.
I'll
Great.
kind of pout for a few seconds. And then remember I get to go steal something and perk up again.
Does this mean we're switching over to the markets playbook?
We might be sure. I think that would like that definitely sounds like where we are taking this. And I I'm curious, like we've kind of mentioned that the idea of this theft. So the rats have the idea of turning into something really small and getting in there, is their thought.
Pretty much. I mean, there's no telling how you get a wheel of cheese out if you're something that small, but
Yeah. I think that like the way they've described it, I imagine as that there's this like that it's almost this like I don't know. I like this idea that there is this like it very like kind of the high end bougie cheese store. Like it's this cheese like store as opposed to just one of the stalls in the marketplace.
like
And
it
it
actually has its own structure that's
yeah,
built.
yeah, and it just has because one of the aesthetic elements for like the markets is just these amazing clockwork contraptions is that it has this like spiraling like mechanism that just like administers like slices of cheeses for the upscale patrons like sampling plates. Like they can press a button and like a cheese roll is like rolled out of its container and then like goes rolling around these rails until finally it runs along like this like clockwork like soldier who's like wielding like a bayonet that like and scrapes along like just a sliver of cheese off.
There's the perfect path for this out of place. The gang visits somewhere fancy and rich.
Ooh, hit it.
Okay. So the gang visits someplace fancy and rich. Who is funding your stay here? Okay, so we're not staying. That's the only part that doesn't seem
I
to
mean,
match.
if we want to retcon a little bit, that there is someone we know that would, for some reason, make the poor decision of like funding us to like come in here for our
Oh.
theft.
Okay. What
Could
about
the-
the rats stealing a key for us?
Yes, they're funding it with the key, not necessarily with cash. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I feel like rats have no concept of currency.
Cool. So yeah, for out of place. This place can never feel like home. Silken sheets and beautiful paintings are nice, but far from what you're used to on the streets. You will always move on from here eventually, but for now, you might as well enjoy yourself. Start an 8-tick clock until you get kicked out. Tick when it feels appropriate, although you can leave at any time. While on the path, we have access to the following moves. We can express our discomfort or steal as a growth move, and be fascinated by something expensive or get up to shenanigans as a chill move.
Nice. So I think we were sneaking in the back door when like someone who serves this place is like they recognize us incorrectly and usher us off to some sort of a dining area and like ushers us to sit down and starts serving up hors d'oeuvres and whatnot and says,
Yes, I think there's someone like, oh, are those the Darrington children?
right.
And we can see the eye roll in some of the servers' faces because they all despise the Darrington children.
We are pretty despicable.
Yes.
I'll lean over to Damien and kind of whisper, "Do you think the rats set this up?"
I don't. I mean, I don't think so, but
Should we let him know?
I think we should probably keep our identities pretty secret. I mean, for the time being, at least.
Right.
Yes, we do like to serve a wide variety of very high-end cheeses here. Perhaps you would like to try some of our more delicate fares and like various like I think that they're going all out because they just misapprehend who we are.
Mhm.
And they're pulling out, but the problem is they're pulling out the plates of the fanciest cheeses, all of which have like rinds that have different colors on the outside than on the inside.
Are they
Why
bringing out
is this
Munster cheese?
one blue and purple on the inside? It stinks. And
Oh.
it's gooey. It's dripping.
This
Oh,
one looks
yeah.
like gross marble or something like that. Like, look at these lines and like patches in it. It's like, is this mold?
Guys, don't disrespect them. This is high-end stuff.
I
It's
am going
high-end stuff,
to
gross.
express my discomfort. This
Yeah.
is not cheese. I don't know what they're trying to feed us, but this is not cheese.
I think Alloy is just gonna pull in a chill move here, and she has just misapprehended what is going on. And I'm gonna like first off, I think we should take one for everybody's insulting their cheese because that definitely feels like
Actually, if I may, I'd like to make it worse because I have a move that says explain something about the city. And the question, is it useful or just condescending? And so I will launch into a lengthy diatribe about how cheese should be one color. One color. Not this 2 and 3 and 4 and however many colors that thing is. This is not cheese. Why are you trying to poison us?
I don't know. I think this is pretty good. And I think Alloy, while they were being distracted by your diatribe, has just misapprehending things, picked up an entire roll of cheese, and is just taking bites out of it.
Alloy, don't eat that. It could be poisoning you.
You're gonna have to pay for it at least.
Listen, no, nobody's going to pay. Nobody will pay for moldy cheese while I'm here. That this is unacceptable. Don't you know that cheese shouldn't be moldy?
That's like half the cheese they've got here.
It shouldn't smell like that. Nothing should smell like that, Damien.
I mean it's not my favorite thing, but I mean maybe they've got the Swiss here somewhere. And I'm about this close to actually kind of calling over an associate of the store or someone who works there and trying to see if I can find where the Swiss is kept.
No, yeah, sorry, let me yeah, I think that what is the like outfit of this let's go with man, sure. Of this man that I think like what bit of his clothing is something that you like don't even understand the purpose of, that you just have never had any encounter with and can't even begin to imagine why he'd be wearing something like that.
I think that the dress code in this store, it's a little bit like what like new wave artists in the 80s thought people in the 1700s dressed like. Like there's this big Adam Ant vibe where he's got like an unnecessary number of frilly, poofy ornaments about him, and it's all very decorative, but it looks remarkably stuffy, and it's so humid down here. I can't imagine that being comfortable.
Yes, and he just kind of like looks down at you and says, Swiss. And he kind of picks like slightly disgustedly at your scarf. I can see that the Darrington's taste remains just as as immaculate as ever.
Why, thank you. It's very nice of you to say so. I appreciate you noticing.
Oh yes, and your sense of sarcasm as well. And I'll go and fetch some of that Swiss for you immediately. And
Could you
then
bring
he
some
just
nuts for our
goes back
squirrel?
to like looking through his accounting books very slowly. Like he just looks at a page, turns it ever so slowly, and then goes down, beginning to go down the numbers on the next page.
Could you get? Do you have any nuts here? We've got a squirrel with us. The squirrel would probably like some nuts.
Where is the squirrel right now? Where has it wandered off to, years?
Yeah, so I've been doing a chill move of admiring something fancy, I think it was, which is like this clockwork ship in a painting. And I think that there's been a mouse like chattering at my foot the whole time I was doing this. But or rat happens to be another thing that I don't speak. Um, and it is very boring for a squirrel to stare at a painting that long. So I think it has leapt onto the left-hand side of that painting, scurried up, and there's obviously this giant chandelier in the room that they've parked us in, sequestered from the rest of the guests. And I think that the squirrel is enjoying all the lights that radiate and bounce off of the crystals in the chandelier.
Is the squirrel going to swing from the chandelier?
Right now, it's just, like chittering around and trying to bite some of them fancy crystals.
Yeah, I think that squirrel, the man says, and he looks up. What is a squirrel doing in here? And
Oh,
he
that's
grabs like
Pierce's
a
friend.
very like steampunk looking broom and starts swinging up at the chandeliers. and the squirrel begins like clinging on to one of the crystals as it causes the chandelier to start swinging back and forth over this place.
Hey, do you know who our father is?
I know that your father cannot have been bothered to raise anything less than a bunch of spoiled brats like yourself. Now,
And
you will let me...
that is why you will leave that squirrel in peace. He's just enjoying the chandelier. Go back to reading your boring papers or whatever it is that you're doing.
I think it's at that point that Alloy, who has been continuing to eat from this round of cheese, just like biting into it like an apple or something, I don't know. I think that she says, "Oh no, that's all right. I think I can get up there." And she just starts clambering up this metal, this metal rig that rolls down some cheeses. And she is just clambering up it to like hop up onto the chandelier, because I am spending my a token to go after someone. And I think as I leap up onto this chandelier, and I'm also just going to mark another tick, I think that like I am just sending these like crystals tinkling down. I think probably I accidentally dislodge several of these cheeses from their like containers up above, and they're just coming rolling down.
Please mark another tick. I love those shiny crystals. So a few of those are going into my pocket.
and eventually like Alloy just comes rolling down into the lap of the sky with the squirrel in her hands. And I think that she's, "Oh, I'm sorry. I got all this soot all over you. Let me just help with that." And I start trying to like rub at his fabric, but I'm just getting more soot into it because there's just more on my hands.
It was all white, his entire suit.
Yes. And there are just several cheeses just rolling about right now. I'm wondering if Damien or Tabitha might recognize a roll of Swiss when they see it.
I see a couple of cheeses that I can recognize as being one color, and I just kind of kick them with my foot so that they roll out the door. Of course, I'm presuming that there are some rats waiting right outside, ready to jump in if needed.
I think that the man starts to call out, the Darrington name will only get you so far. I demand that you leave my establishment at once, children.
You are
I shall be sure to send a bill to your father for the damages that you have caused here today.
You know what? Send him 2, and I'll snap my fingers and I'll set his book on fire.
How is Damien handling this? Was this Damien's plan?
Is this another tick on the clock?
Yeah, because we are being thrown at this point, certainly.
We haven't even gotten to all 8.
Yes, we have, actually.
Oh, we have? Okay.
Don't worry, I've been ticking things as we have pulled bullshit here.
Did we get to 9 or 10 on the clock of 8?
We just filled up 8 there once Tabitha set fire to that.
that was the last straw.
Yeah.
Last accounting book too. It's going to be helpful to send a bill to anybody.
Well, fortunately, he's going to be sending the Darringtons too.
He can. 2 of what? 2 of nothing is nothing.
I was just going to say, for my part, I think it's a combination of things. One, I am looking upon all of this in abject horror. However, there is not an ounce of surprise across my face. I kind of figured we were going to get into this. And I think that it at least has given me a little bit of a cover, such that I have successfully stashed a rather heavy wheel of Swiss beneath my shirt. So if I need to spend a token or something like that to steal successfully,
you actually get a token for stealing in this.
You get a token for stealing. Yeah. Oh, sweet. Okay, we'll do that then.
Wait, Do we all get tokens for stealing?
I mean, I think I don't because Alloy didn't steal shit. But if the rest of you have stole, I think all of the rest of you have described stealing something. So
Oh,
remember
yes.
to mark a token for that.
I'm going to grab some more meat and cheese on my way out. I'm going to, if they have any nuts, I'm going to grab some of those. And if there's anything in a nice, handy to carry container, I'm going to grab that.
You're just shouting like charge it to my parents. As on the way out, is that what Tabitha's saying?
Yeah, and don't be surprised if they chase after you with an umbrella after you do it.
I think Scraps is exiting with some of the meats in his mouth as well.
Turkey leg in his mouth, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think 1 or 2 walnuts were left on the counter as payment for the crystal that that the math squirrel is holding in its paws.
And there's like a moment where Gears and the math squirrel lock eyes. And I don't understand squirrel, but I think squirrel understands what I say. And I'm like, we're not paying for this. Come on. We're getting out of here.
Well, it takes one of the walnuts. Like it will underpay, but
It's still leaving the rest.
Yeah.
Have we named this squirrel yet?
I've just named it the math squirrel.
I mean, it needs a better name than the math squirrel.
Maybe Arlo?
So I came back with 4. Euclid, Mersenne, Euler, and Newton.
Newton was the one that I had pondered over the break.
Well, Newton then?
Yeah.
I mean, the squirrel has taught you something about gravity and calculus, so.
Exactly. First time I met him, he dropped something on me.
Mm-hmm. He dropped some knowledge on you.
Right. And hasn't stopped. Keeps dropping that knowledge.
Right.
Great. So yeah, welcome back everyone to check in. Have folks have enough of a break? Are they ready to start up again? I'm just eating some food right now, so I'll be taking myself off camera for a little bit.
I'm good to go.
Yep.
Also good to go.
Yeah. And great. So yeah, in case, because I think that might have been cut off, we are now calling the math squirrel Newton. I'll add that to our notes for here. But I'm getting the sense, Damien, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were trying to orient us towards engaging in a particular path that you had in mind, which is the depths below.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if people might be interested in a take on the classic super dungeon crawl. The twist is that we're all rat-sized.
I could probably make us all rat-sized. Or we could stay in human form. I mean, either way, I'm totally down with sewer lunking.
I kind of like the Honey, I Shrunk My Kids vibes. That's pretty cool. How are we becoming rat-sized? I didn't quite catch that part.
Do you trust my magic?
Trust? Trust?
Yeah, that's
hard
an
word.
awful long time to take to say, of course.
Of course I trust your magic. I've seen
Of course I trust your magic.
nothing but good happen. Have I ever seen your magic work?
You have seen. I translated your manual for the harnesses, for those tethers, to the frogs.
That was pretty magical, actually, now that you mention it.
Was it?
They were not getting it when I was trying to get them to read it.
Gears, you are an absolute sweetheart and a dear. And if I want something moved or put in a tree, you are absolutely the first person that I would call. You are the last person I would talk to if I needed something translated to frogs or rats. I mean, you have a math squirrel, but that's math. That's a different language, right?
Right. Well, and just because I have a squirrel that's rat-sized doesn't mean that it makes us rat-sized.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
What
I never
is that?
thought about it that way.
Transitory
Years.
property or something? Or anyway, I'm pretty sure that I can make us, rat size. If you want to go on like a rat size adventure in the sewers, but we might want to like put our food up first because it's not rat sized. Or we could eat it while we're rats, and it might fill us up for a long time when we go back to normal human size again. You're muted.
Alloy is still just eating that single round of cheese, and it now basically looks like a cheese apple core.
Alloy, you did know that there was a rind on that, right?
What?
Like the hard bits that are really kind of like not chewy.
Oh yeah, that makes it nice and crunchy.
I'll just raise my eyebrows like, okay.
Well, in any event, guys, if we have the cheese,
Well, ask the rats. I kicked a couple of wheels out the door for them.
right. I think we can go ahead and present our offering to them. I say, withdrawing the Swiss from beneath my shirt.
We already gave them like two gigantic whatevers they are.
Well,
the wheels or rolls or rounds or whatever.
Well,
Look, they're gone.
We can maybe keep this in reserve then, and if they cause a fuss about it, well, we can tell them that we got them 2 wheels instead of 1, so they can deal with it.
I mean, rats are generally straightforward and trustworthy, so I don't see why that'd be an issue. But
yeah, of course. Well then, this is the part where I have to kind of ask you something kind of awkward here, Tabitha.
Yes, I have kissed people before. I don't know why that's relevant.
Well, go ahead, Alloy.
No, that was just Alloy gasping.
Just a gasp of astonishment.
Yeah. I kissed frogs before, but not people.
Alloy, listen. People are so much better to kiss than frogs. I mean, boys, girls, people are so much better to kiss than frogs. I mean, nothing against your frog friends, but people tend to be less wet.
Oh, Alloy at that point just like lean forwards and gives you a peck on the forehead. And you're like, you're right.
And I'll blush. Because I now have like a soot lip print on my forehead.
I think Damien is staying very quiet and is trying not to seem blushy or uncomfortable because he tries to portray himself as the mature adult one of the group, but he has, in fact, not kissed anyone before. So he's just keeping it very down low right now and hoping that the conversation switches before anyone finds out.
But why'd you want to know that, Damien?
Well, I was actually asking if you were going to be able to do some rat magic or shrink us down or something like that.
I mean, I don't know about rat magic, but shrinking magic probably. I mean, I'm not a rat. Magic kind of depends on, what you are. Frogs aren't going to do people magic. They're going to do frog magic.
Well, as long as it's reversible, whatever magic you use is good enough. We just got to be able to follow the rats through their little sewer tunnels.
It's got to be reversible?
Unless you want us to be small forever and ever. Although, to be fair, it would be kind of fun to ride a frog.
Okay, I'm going to need a couple minutes. But don't worry, I can totally have this ready by the time we get to wherever we need to be.
All right.
It's just like hitting a reverse button, right? Right, Gears? You put reverse buttons on everything, don't you?
Oh yeah, no. There's always the on button and the off button.
Yeah, do and undo.
Yeah, even on your grenades, you just have an undo.
Well, on button and off button, not really a do and undo, unfortunately.
It's kind of hard to undo a grenade, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing, because it blows up the undo button, so like how are you supposed to press it?
I'm going to spend a token and pull out a notepad and start furiously scribbling away on a grenade with an undo button.
A retroactive undo.
Correct. Which means I am going to start another clock that I'll never finish.
Yeah. So while Tabitha is working on that, I like Alloy turns to you, Damien. So Damien, what have you kissed before? I've kissed frogs and now Tabitha once.
I one of the nice women at the orphanage kissed me once when I was younger.
Oh, okay. So I'll one. Okay. And Alloy just starts making some notes up on the wall of like the boat. Like Tabitha, like I put a question mark next to because she's kissed people, but she hasn't said how many. I kissed 5 frogs, so I put 5F next to my name and 1T for Tabitha. And Damien, I put 1 next to your name.
Well, it's not like it's a competition or anything.
Oh, it's not a competition. It's just I like to keep track.
Can we stop by the witch's place real quick? I think that she'll have something that might be helpful. Not that I need. I can totally do this on my own, but maybe make it a little bit easier.
Well, sure, and maybe I can grab some tea light candles or something while we're out.
You see? It's like a twofer. You get what you need, I get what I need. Everything's good.
And I start calling out to Gears. Gears, how many people have you kissed? Damien says he has kissed 1 person.
And while you make a distraction, I'm going to pick a pocket to get some money.
You're totally ignored as Gears just continues furiously scribbling in this journal. And says to Newton, if you can help me with this, I'll let you have this. And pulls out one of them shiny crystals that was hanging from the chandelier.
I think Newton's just like does one of those squirrel things where it kind of like reaches forward in an impossible angle and just like kind of scrabbles his front paws at this crystal while the back ones kind of dig into your shoulder. And he's horizontal.
Move it closer so that the angle doesn't have to be as extreme. Okay. So grenade with an undo button and pan back to everyone else.
While Newton like sketches down the basic theory of the arrow of time for you, and why such a device might be difficult.
I'm not asking for help on how it doesn't work. I'm asking for help on how it does work.
But yeah.
And I'm just kind of tossing a little coin purse in one hand that I nicked from some impossibly posh-looking person walking away with, again, far too many frills and ruffles even for an Adamant video.
So, fictionally, what are we doing here? Are we going to meet with this witch, or are we going to like explore the sewer?
I think like a really quick visit to the witch to give us, because isn't that a path as well?
Yeah.
And then down into the sewers. So maybe like 15 minutes at the witches, if that.
Sure. Are folks cool with stopping by for one of the spits, doing a dangerous meeting where someone visits the witch to get something from her? Yeah, and describe. So there are a couple of choices for the witch. There, if you want to pick one, Puckett, unless or Tabitha, unless you have a different name in mind.
Dangerous one meeting.
And for a dangerous meeting, we will describe the witch's domain, hut, and person in that order. Note any familiars or magical effects surrounding her. write a rhyming poem, or draw a small picture if you wish.
So, if we could, I'd like to flip things very briefly and say that the witch's name is actually Tabitha, and this is probably where Tabitha got her name from. So the witch knows her as Ferngully.
I like that.
Like, this will give you a little bit of insight into who Tabitha is and who she wants to grow up to be.
Does the witch Tabitha go by Tabitha Tarantula, have tarantulas, or is tarantula unique to this Tabitha?
It's her name isn't Tabitha Tarantula. It's probably something like Tabitha Smith. But I adopted Tarantula because it sounds awesome.
Yep.
But her name is very much Tabitha, and she knows me as Ferngully Mossbrook.
Yeah, and I want to ask Damien, where, like, or anyone else, but I kind of want to throw this out to you first to kind of give us all a little bit of a dig in here.
Mhm.
Where do you think our witch like lives? Like, what kind of what part of the city do you think she lives in? And like,
I can see one of two things, and they're both kind of opposite ends of an extreme. I could see a classic kind of gutter witch thing where she's out in some canals and has her little hut, and there's this green glow that kind of emanates from it, and it's the classic sort of witch's cottage get up. I could alternatively see her being unusually, weirdly successful financially, and she has this actually very nice, almost like apartment penthouse at the top of a skyscraper or some other kind of building, where it's all shiny and chrome. Either one of those works for me, and I see in the chat that we're thinking the canals.
sure, that works for me. And so, cool. And I'm wondering, Gears, what is like remarkable or like interesting about her hut?
Yeah, so I was thinking about those canals. I'm pretty sure that we described like a mist that exists within the canals. Um, and I think that these mists actually, at least in this area, emanate from her hut, and they stretch out, and like Tabitha will never admit that this was the inspiration, but it stretches out in like 8 directions, these tendrils of mist. And if you look at it from above, it looks like a spider or a tarantula.
Cool. What is this old Tabitha look like, Tabitha?
Surprisingly well put together. Like, when you go inside, you see all this stuff on the outside, and it looks like, you're going to be coming in with somebody like hunched over a cauldron and they can't stand up straight. Nah, she's wearing like a pretty modern pantsuit. You know, nicely done hair. It's stylish, but low maintenance. She's got important stuff to do. She doesn't have time to like untangle rats' nests in her hair or like pick spiders out of it. And all the things that are in there that are alive are well behaved and polite. This is one place where you don't want to, for example, set a ledger on fire.
Can she have a collection of plates on the wall like some people do?
Like, what kind of plates and for what purpose?
Like, I've never known anyone who had these, but there are plates that have pictures on them, and some people collect them and put them on walls.
I don't see why she couldn't.
Okay.
Maybe tracing back the witch lineage.
Oh, yes. You have to look really close to understand that.
Yeah. Like, birth, like the years of their birth and death. And it's always like 300 or 400 year lifespans.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know they're the real deal.
And I just shared a link. We'll bring this up on the share screen here for folks. watching. So part of the game is I'll just oh, whoops, I shared a window. Wrong thing. 1 second. Let me actually share the tab. There we go. So the way that this works, and I'm curious, is this woman actually a witch, or is she just old and cranky?
She is a witch, but it might be fair to think of her as more like a go-between, like a negotiator. She facilitates things coming from the spirit world into our world, and vice versa.
Cool. And so here's how this particular path works. It's a little bit different from some of the other paths we've been on. So the witch is old, wise, and cranky. She may or may not be evil, a woman, or particularly magical. That will be up to the group. She has the impulses, though, to curse them and to cackle. Give someone a pencil and paper. Everyone else's job is to distract the witch with gifts, flattery, or mischief. The person with the pencil draws a binding circle around the thematic representation of the witch. The circle must be strong and unique to her, or it will not hold. So I'm wondering, who is the person whose job it is to prepare this this circle while the rest of us are distracting the witch?
I feel like it should be either Damien or I, and I'm kind of thinking maybe Damien. Because like my magic is kind of showy and flashy, whereas I think you can actually do the sort of stuff that we need done here. I mean,
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to like try to bind actual Tabitha. That I mean, to me that just feels like it'd be kind of rude. And
Right.
also, pretty sure I don't have the skill to do that.
Yeah.
I think mine's a little more subtle. However, if you're distracting her with gifts, I was going to offer up my Swiss wheel. I mean, can I trust you with that, Tabitha?
Well, you can trust me with it.
All right.
I won't eat it.
That wheel of cheese is all yours then.
She's not alloy. She's not going to just eat the wheel whole.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
And I should also note that while we are visiting the witch, any of us may always make the desperate move to spend a token and accept a gift from the witch. What problem will it almost solve?
Isn't that really just another way of saying what problem will it create?
I mean, could be. But anyway, you're the one that knows the witch the best, Tabitha, or Ferngully, as we might refer to you here.
And I'm being really strict about that. It's like, nobody call me Tabitha in there. It's Ferngully, okay? I don't care how goofy it sounds. Ferngully in there.
Okay,
what's my
I'll
name?
be certain to call you Ferngully, Tabitha.
No, just
What about Tab?
No, Ferngully.
Fern? Do we have to say Ferngully?
If you want to call me Fernie, that's fine.
Fernie.
Ferngully, some variation thereof. Just not that other name. Okay?
Cool. I'll only call you Ferngully from now on, Tabitha.
Only in there. Okay? Only in there. Once we're back outside, go back to calling me Tabitha. But when we're in there, Alloy, when we are in there, and I'm pointing at the witch's hut.
Oh, you know what? While we're in there, you should call me Damien. This is really fun. And I can call Gears Scraps.
Okay. But Alloy.
I reach into my pocket and pull out a frog and I say, you can call this one Gears. And it is Gears.
Oh yeah, I couldn't come up with a better name than that.
Maybe Alloy, you could go by Tabitha.
Oh
Nobody
yeah.
should. Nobody should. No, no. Nobody uses that name in there except her. Like, if you want to actually be a toad in a way that maybe I can't get you back from, go ahead. But if you want to remain in more or less your present form until I have a chance to like turn you into a rat or whatever it is we're doing, no, don't call any of us that name.
Alloy is just looking everywhere, creasing her brow at it, because for her, that is the Damien look.
You know, just Alloy, don't use anybody's name in there, okay?
Who is this Alloy? My name is Damien.
Damien, don't use anybody's name in there.
I wasn't going to.
She's going to curse us. We're going to be doomed. We're doomed.
I think it's at that point we hear, Ferngully, I can hear you and your friends out there. Do you want to come in for some tea, or are you gonna continue doing a kind of off Broadway slapstick bit out there?
Sorry, Miss Tabitha. Coming in. And tea would be lovely, thank you. And the strange thing about Tabitha right now is that she goes from being like that confident pickpocket and thief who just always has an answer for everything and doesn't care to being like meek and kind of sheepish, almost shy. Um, Miss Tabitha, I'm hoping you might be able to maybe help us out with something. Um, my friends and I have met some rats, and they want to show us some deeper parts of the sewers, but we can't really do it when we're human sized. And I think I know how to do it, but you
Now, but let me stop you there. Do you have any suspicions that these rats might be and she gives a very witchy cackle, planning to eat ya? Because I was in that kind of situation once where some rats wanted me to shrink down, and then when I did, they did try to eat me.
no, we've got food for them, so that's covered. That's
Good,
more than
good.
covered. Um, Also, if you hear about a disruption over at the cheese shop, that was absolutely not us. But I know you had some moss a while back, and I don't know if you have any more of it. Just the moss that hang like you find it on the trees where they hanged people.
Oh, well, now, girl, what exactly do you want with something like that? And she locks a very like judgmental mom look, like brow arched, looking straight into your soul, Ferngully.
Well, I know I can transform myself into an animal and transform myself back. I've done that plenty of times, but it's them that I want to make sure that I can transform them into something rat sized and get them to become human again. And you told me once that that was the stuff that would do it, that would really make sure of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and she draws out a little strand of the stuff. Now, this stuff here is quite potent, you know. It's. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable imparting something so, well, what's the word? Psychedelic onto kids your age.
I mean,
The thing is, I know I said that, and now I should confess, I am 50% certain that it did make me small, but the other 50% might just be that I just thought I was very small when I smoked this.
I see. Um, it well, basically, what I'd ask you to consider is that all of us here, none of us have parents, none of us have homes, and we manage to survive on the streets more or less. So, how much worse could it be for us than what we already live with?
And she gives you another look, Ferngully, and says, "Don't make me explain to you how things can be made much worse, because I can guarantee that there are always pathways downwards. You think you hit rock bottom, and then I can show you a little trapdoor you missed."
That's very kind. That's a very kind offer, but I think we're okay. Um, we all have it bad enough as it is right now. We're comfortable with our level of badness and where we are. Just would like to avoid making it any worse. Right, Gears? And I'm going to nudge Gears.
Right. Mrs. Tabitha, have you ever seen anything like this? And I hand her a notebook open to a page that has a picture of a.
Is this a grenade with an undo button?
That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on. Yes.
See, that whole thing you said about how it could always be worse. That's what you're talking about, right?
Well, I mean,
Well, it's worse without the undo button, I think.
do I need to explain? I mean, even witches, like you are aware that there is this thing called entropy and in the arrow of time, child.
Yeah, I think Newton helped me figure out how to get around that. So, have you met Newton?
Oh, is he that annoying squirrel that's always correcting my account books?
That sounds like him, yeah.
Does Newton poke out from under your collar or above your hat at this point?
Yeah, right under the brim.
Yeah, and she gives him an eye. "Stay away from my account books, or I can make you into a chipmunk." And she looks over at you, Tabitha, and says, "Trust me, squirrels hate chipmunks."
Oh, believe me, Miss Tabitha, I know, and they're right to do so. You cannot trust a chipmunk. I mean, they don't really have tails to speak of.
But is this a sales pitch or something, child? Because I did have the no solicitors will be turned into toads.
No. Sorry. I was just wondering if you had any. It's not quite working yet. We haven't quite figured it out.
Well,
You know magic. Maybe it needs magic instead of math.
Or math magic.
I think that she gives you a look, and then gives Tabitha a look, and she says, "Now is Tabitha telling you that you don't need to know math to do magic? Because that is not what I explained to her."
I have never said that.
And she just looks at you and says, like, "Multiplication tables, Tabitha. I keep, like, you can write them out for me, and I can make certain that you're keeping in practice." and she like gestures, and like a little notebook falls onto your lap, Tabitha, or Ferngully.
Yes, ma'am. I've been working on my tables. I've been working on my sums. Still not that good with the long division, but I'm working at it.
People only use long division for for banishments anyway, and that's just downright rude.
I mean, if you don't invite something that you don't want, you don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah. And I think it's at that point that, because I do think just to make some yeah, I think that yeah, I think it's at that point that while all this has been going on, Alloy has just been kind of like climbing up the shelves in the background, just like to look at all of the like stuff up in the that she keeps in jars up here, and says, yeah, I think she probably says, "Wow, Miss Gears, you keep a lot of stuff, of neat things in these jars up here."
I look over and see what Alloy's doing and say, "Oh God, no." Alloy, please get down carefully.
I would like to spend a token
I think
to
I think that
accept the
Alloy
gift.
goes, oh, okay, I'll be real careful. And I kind of like try to turn around, and then I like knock a bit of something in one of the jars off the shelf, and it shatters on the ground. I'm like, oh, sorry about that, miss. I hope that was I hope I hope that wasn't anything important. What was in that jar, Tabitha?
Uh, that was probably about a 2,000-year-old dragon scale. Handful left in the world. Which, of course,
Oh well, good thing it was good. Oh, okay. It was
disintegrated.
Oh, okay. I'm glad. I'd be really guilty if I broke something new.
I'm just hanging my heads in my hands, my hand in my heads at this point. My head in my hands, just cringing.
Anyway, pleasure to meet you. I'm Damien.
If you need to keep this one for a little while to kind of work off that debt,
Oh yeah, I'm really good at washing dishes. When I'm done, there are no dishes left.
we actually don't let this one wash dishes anymore because of that.
What? But I did such a good job.
You broke all of them.
I mean, isn't I thought that was the point.
The point was to clean them so we could use them again. You just, Miss Tabitha, you gotta be real literal about what you tell this one.
And yeah, Tabitha looks at you and No, it is all right. One can always find more uh, ancient relics, I suppose.
If I find any, I will bring one right to you.
But I'm glad you're visiting me, Ferngully dear. You don't stop by anymore these days. And she reaches into her pocket, and I'm wondering, what does she pull out of her pocket that is so interesting to Tabitha?
Oh. It's one of the sigil rings from the school I was kicked out of for not paying tuition. It basically unlocks magical libraries in the city to whoever is bearing it.
Look, I know that you didn't get to, you had to, I'm wondering, yeah, you had to leave behind something you cared a lot about when you left that school. And I've been trying to help out with that. I thought this might just, if not get you what you lost back, it might jiggle the handle, so to speak.
That it would. That it would. And I'm just looking at it almost transfixed.
I mean, she holds it out to you on. I think it's an older hand, but I think it's definitely not like the kind of stereotypical like witch hand. I think it's a very kind of strong hand that looks like it's done a lot of manual labor.
But still also shows signs of some really good skincare regimens.
Yeah.
And I'll reach out and I'll very, like, kind of tentatively almost take it.
Are you spending a token to do that?
Um,
Because while you're visiting the witch, you do need to spend a token to accept a gift.
yeah, I'll spend a token for that. I mean, I've got like 4 tokens. I can spare one. This is. I never expected to get one of these.
I think it speaks well to your character, Ferngully dear, that you never did. The people in that school, they spend a lot of time talking about magic as if it's something that doesn't happen anymore. But they don't go out doing any magic.
Do you is there anything that I can do to help you out with this or for this? Because mostly I'm spending a lot of time with frogs. I mean, they're real polite and all. We listened to a concert from the Frog King the other night. It was something else, but it's not quite what I thought I'd be doing.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about you sweep up the glass over there from your friend, and I'll see what I can do to help out this uh reverse grenade that your little friend is working on here.
And when I'm sure that Gears isn't looking at me, I'll shake my head and mouth the words, "Please don't."
And I'm wondering, Damien, how is your thing coming along?
Oh, it's more or less finished at this point. I have put all manner of symbolism into it, and I think it looks arcane enough. So, no, I think I'm ready to present it whenever needed.
Yeah, because going over to a dangerous meeting. Yeah, here it is. After the circle must be strong and unique to her, or it will not hold. After, present the circle to the witch. If the binding is strong and personal enough, it will hold, and the witch will laugh and give you a reward. If the circle fails, time to run. So, how does Damien present this circle to the witch?
I think I present it as a gift because this particular circle is not a binding circle in the sense that it is a prison that restrains people. Rather, it binds people together in unity. So it is really more of a peace offering and a show of trust than a targeted attack. And so I think that I might get the witch's attention. And I'll refer to her politely. I will say, Miss Tabitha.
Mm. Yeah, yes, yes, Alloy dear. Because I think at some point Alloy introduced you as Alloy, just to confuse things.
I think there's a brief moment of inscrutability as I kind of think, wait a minute, what? And then I just sort of shake it off. I would like to present you with a gift of sorts as a little token of returned favor after what you so graciously gave. And then I kind of look over at Tabitha Tarantula, and I know that you hate being called this. Ferngully. It's a circle that I've drawn, and I think is this in the fiction? Is it expected that I have actually been walking around the room drawing this on the floor?
It is. It does not specify. It's however you want to frame it in the fiction.
I think that I present it to her in the form of a bit of parchment that I've inscribed it on, kind of in the same way that sometimes people will offer sketches or portraits of a person as a gift, kind of in a, oh, I saw you over there, and for the last 20 minutes I've been drawing you, and here it is, kind of a thing. So I'll offer her this bit of paper, and I say to her, this is an old token of kindness and love that I've personalized as a token of thanks toward you. You can see that the T that you're centered within is a representation of your name. There is a triangle above and 3 suns, each of which have the common number 3, the number of syllables in your name. The triangle also forms the peak of a heart, which you can see kind of extends outward like wings of a beetle. And you have, of course, the antenna up top. I understand that witches of your caliber are very prone and in touch with insects, and so I thought it was befitting of you. As the case is, though, I thought you'd like it, and I hope it makes you feel, close to us. And when I start talking about emotions, that's when I get clumsy.
Yeah, she gives a heckin' laugh and says, well, ain't that something, child? And she pulls out some of this moss we were talking about earlier, kind of lays it out in a line on this bit of parchment you've handed to her, rolls it up, and like sticks it in her mouth, and like lets a little flame off her thumb to light it, and takes a deep drag. Well,
Does that
now,
mean you like it?
yeah, it's quite something. Haven't seen it since the last time I paid a visit to old Stoneface down in the depths below.
I spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, and I can taste it. Trust me, it's quite nice. You did a good job.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to eat it.
I'm not eating it. I'm smoking it. You see that this is something that this is a habit you should not get into when you're older, like I am. But I enjoy it a drag every now and then.
Um. Okay. Glad you like it, and I'm
Trust
looking
me,
at Tabitha Tarantula
items
like.
of like magical and divine parchment make the best papers to roll with.
All right. Well,
You see, Aloy, you can learn a lot when you come to see a witch with respect.
yeah.
See, and Alloy has just somehow managed to like have another fragile glass-looking jar in her hands. And she's just kind of like shaking it and looking at what's inside.
Please put that down carefully because I'm already sweeping up from the last one. Damien?
Tabfern, you didn't tell me that you knew all the math. You should
That
help
you were
me with
doing?
this.
You've got a squirrel, Gears.
Yeah, I mean, he's tried. We're
Look,
making progress, but together, I think we could actually solve this thing.
trust me, the squirrel's better at math than I am. I do my calculations on the fly. You know, I got to account for wind shear, centripetal force, Coriolis forces, ley lines. It's a different kind of math.
Yeah, we didn't do any calculations on ley lines. We'll have to add that page.
Don't think
And I
it'll
think
help.
that she pulls out another identical like little like snuff box, and then she looks between the two of them because they both look exactly the same, like she's trying to remind herself now which is which. And she just, no, this one here, children, this is the stuff that will not get you high but get you small.
Oh, that's what we're after. Yeah.
And I'll just accept the box and say thank you, Miss Tabitha. I'll be back real soon.
Yeah, and I think she looks at you, Damien, and says, now, and one more little thing to you. This might be the grave moss talking, but I should keep in mind that sometimes if something's hasn't got a name, maybe they're just looking for someone to give a name to it. You keep that in mind, child. And I think it's at that point that she really says it, and it has like the capital C, child, you realize.
Right. I think there's a moment of astonishment. Where did you hear that name?
She looks about the place and says, these sewers, things echo down them, whether they're uh, conversations or names. You, when someone's given a name, that's the kind of thing that echoes long and loud all through this place.
I see. So you just heard it through the proverbial grapevine.
I hmm. She like, yeah, that's actually what she says. No, I heard it through the sewers.
Oh, in a very real and literal kind of way. I see. I will have to come back and see you again. I have a lot to think about.
Do draw me another of your little bindings, Damien. Or child. I did enjoy this one.
Naturally, I say, not completely convinced that it makes any difference whatsoever what's drawn on it. He's just going to smoke it anyway.
Also, in relation to what Gears said in chat about holding out on the maths, as we're walking toward the sewers, I'm going to get an idea and I'm going to say, Gears, are you trying to put an undo button on a grenade? Or is this an undo grenade that'll stop something that just happened from happening?
It's an undo button on a grenade, and I think that's the biggest problem. I think we got the maths for the undo. The problem is the grenade. How do you push the button afterwards?
Gears, I think you'd have better luck if you made it a grenade that undoes things. Like that
Like,
kind of throws time into reverse.
skip the grenade part and just make the undo part work.
Yes, exactly that.
See, that's the sort of math genius that I've been looking for.
Well, and at this point, I'll grab your notebook and your pencil and start scribbling because you have to take rotational force of the planets and probably some other astrological calculations.
You see the page that I started on ley lines, and it is horrible. It's all just gibberish nonsense, no math.
You spelled it Lay?
Don't you lay the lines on the planet?
Who cares? You will never be a math magician or a mathematician, but you are the best builder that I know.
Thanks, Tabitha.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to, because I realized that I don't think we're in a place where I wanted to bring it in where we still had an opportunity to bring it, because I don't think we'll hit the 4 ticks on our upheaval clock. Because I think we just have one session left after this. So we have 2 here right now, and I think that it might be a good thought to like do an upheaval now. To kind of bring that into play, like at the end of the session as we're about to go into the sewers, if that's cool for folks.
I'd like that.
And then just spend next time on the sewer crawl?
Yeah.
Works for me.
We'll probably get a little time to set up the sewer crawl, but yeah. So in the game of This Night on the Rooftops, one of the things it has that other Belonging Outside Belonging games don't is this thing called the Revolution Clock. It's something that we gradually fill up as we do scenes and places. We've kind of been doing these very lengthy scenes and places, which is, I think, one of the reasons we've been filling it up more slowly. But And as we do see some places, we'll gradually fill up this clock. We've 2 of the 4 ticks, so I'll untick those. And when we do so, each city playbook with a revolution marker ticked erases 1 tick and swaps an aesthetic for a different one. So each place, if we go over to our world playbook, each of those, the market, first off, has the aesthetics traveling tents and clockwork dreams. As the city is changing, what do we think is changing about the markets?
I would like the traveling tents to change personally.
Oh yeah, I feel like we've been setting it up. Is it like noble propaganda is now
Oh yeah.
like all of the tents have been cleared away, and there's now just like noble propaganda like proclaiming, because of course who is like very interested in the city in cleaning up the markets but the Darringtons, who got footed with this massive bill.
Yes.
Does that work for folks?
That works for me.
Yeah, that works. That's awesome.
Same. Also, I'm curious. Are the Darringtons that family that we stole from in the first session?
Yes. That is why I went with that name. I figured I might as well loop it back in.
Yeah, what is the thrust of the propaganda? Is it like only you can keep the city streets clean type of thing, trying to...
Only you, only the Darringtons can keep the city streets clean, which you will do on their behalf, is how the post reads.
Perfect.
Because only you makes it sound like we live in some sort of democracy.
Right.
But yes, the alleys also have a revolution tick, so we'll untick that. And they have the aesthetics of endless rats and trash palaces. Do folks have any thoughts? Damien, do you have any thoughts about what might change?
Regarding the alleys, I'm gonna say I want to make it a thing where the rats are becoming more powerful. We've been helping them out. They're getting a lot of resources in the form of cheese. It only makes sense. What do I change mechanically, or is this just like a
2 aesthetics associated with the alleys? Endless rats and trash palaces. We're changing one of those for something else.
Okay. Maybe sewer walkways, swapping in for trash palaces, because we've established some kind of connective lines between the sewer and the world above.
The rats have just developed all those sewer walkways to more easily carry out their crimes. Cool.
Yeah.
And we also have one to untick in the parks. And right now we have Bound Fae and Hidden Communities Massive Old Trees as our 2. I feel like we basically Hidden Communities Massive Old Trees is something that's definitely going to stay true because we have a hidden community in a massive old tree. Is there anything, Puckett, that you think we might change out there for Bound Fae?
Let's see. We've been talking about the winds and the canals and the sewers. Let's bring up the winds.
Ooh, the Whispering Winds. Great. And then finally, we have the mansions. And I kind of went with the earlier one, but Gears, for extravagant and exclusive festivities and competitions in cruelty, what do you think changes about the mansions?
What's the word after military? Deification.
Deification, like the
Oh,
deification
yes.
of military leaders.
Yes, this goes hand in hand with the propaganda and
Oh yeah,
the
all the
rise of the military.
propaganda just has the General Darrington face, and he
Yes.
has like a laurel wreath and like a sunburst coming out from his face.
Yes. This is very good.
Every time I see a picture of him, I grumble about his ridiculous mustache, which is like a double handlebar at least. So he's got like at least 2 separate curls on each end, maybe 3. Like one of those ridiculously ornate things that you see in mustache competitions under the artistic entries.
Yeah, and once we go through that, then we choose a symbol of change on this sheet and mark it. We write down and we add its impulse to one of the existing city playbooks. So if you go back to the city tab, there's a list of symbol of changes there. Do any of these stand out to folks as things that kind of seem interesting to people?
I think the canal's rise and overflow really is working with a lot of the other things that we laid down. It makes sense why the propaganda is happening and the cleaning. It makes sense why that wind is escaping. I hear other ideas as well.
I like that because that's the whole purpose of those bone charms, was so that the canals do not, in fact, rise and overflow. And then if it happens, that kind of changes the paradigm up a little bit.
Yep.
But which happened first? Did the canals flood, or did soldiers go through the streets like sweeping away those charms?
Now that
like, is this something the Darringtons like put in place, going to clean up our city, and we're going to start with those ridiculous bone charms that are everywhere?
That makes sense as well. I think maybe the soldiers came first, but the symbol of change is the rising canal.
That works for me. Does it work for you, Puckett?
Works for me. My question is, what does that do to the people who lived at canal level?
Yeah.
Including, for example, Tabitha.
Like,
basically, what I'm asking is, can Tabitha live on our riverboat treehouse?
If she needs to, absolutely.
I mean, I can think of worse things than having a really pissed off witch mad at the city's ruling elite living like upstairs.
Yeah, I definitely think that's interesting. I think it's something that I want to like leave to see what happens in the fiction.
Okay.
I also think that those spider tendril things that we talked about could easily just pick up her hut and walk it somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel like we keep creating our like setups for like our traveling home like house designs.
Oh shit, we should totally like jump in and do a session of our traveling home after this. Like with these characters.
That could work. We need to like, because some of them are very specific.
They are. It is a half-brained idea that just sounded really good once you mentioned it. So
I do like. I feel like we'd probably need to like either imagine how some of the characters have ended up in the position they're in, if that's the case. But it's something to think about. Like maybe some of the character. Yeah, never mind. Let's keep on this case now. We can discuss afterwards. But yeah, so the canals rise and overflow. This does feel like. Are we assigning this as a impulse of the canals to sweep away now as well?
They got the message. The propaganda was working.
I mean, the bone charms was holding the water level at bay. When those went, the water rose to where it would. And water carries things out, it flows.
And I think it was the soldiers who came through and started cleaning up, removing all those bone charms, doing the will of the Dillingers?
Darringtons.
Darringtons.
Yeah. And I want to ask Damien, as we make, like, because I feel like as we make our way down into the canals to meet with your ratty associates, how has this rat's den been changed by like the flooding of the sewers?
Little Venetian rat gondolas.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. I gotta ask, did the rats like pick things out of the stuff that got swept in? Like, are they now like wearing little tweed suits and holding pocket watches and things that they picked out or that they made from materials swept in?
Right. Yeah, it's they in classic rat form, they are embracing this as a new beginning of a more cultured rat civilization. So they've got their little makeshift boat that they paddle around on, and they have little clothes. And oh my gosh, we're so much more contemporary now.
Yeah. I think they'll be able to tell you about fruit now.
Did they adopt the same elitist attitudes?
I think so. There's not the same malice behind it. There's not necessarily the same sort of you're worse than us and we're better than you. It's just kind of it's endearing.
They have access to a better class of garbage, as it were.
Well, I'm thinking about the rats are elitist, but only in the same sense that common house cats are elitist. They look down on you and they're very prideful, and they always turn their nose up at you whenever they don't want your business. But they're never really threatening. They're always kind of good at heart.
So rats are the new cats. Got it.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think then that the image we end on is with each of us taking a puff of this, I don't know, we decided it is shrinkweed. And I think are we boarding one of the gondolas as they take us down a little like side current of the canal?
Yeah.
Does Nanners come with us? And is Nanner's name still Nanners, or is it now something more sophisticated like Nan?
Oh, I like that. I think Nan is good.
Cool. And yeah, I think that wraps us up for the evening. I'm going to take us off, and we will be seeing what happens to our characters as they travel into the depths of the canals next week. Until next time, all, I'll be taking us off now.